Welcome to the Truman Charities podcast. I am Jamie Truman, your host. For part of the Vanishing Fathers Series, I spoke with my father-in-law, Gerald Truman. I have so much respect for my father-in-law, who was born in 1943 in Youngstown, Ohio. He lost his father on his 6th birthday and had to begin working at the young age of 8. We speak about his childhood, his almost 60 years of marriage to Helen, being a father of 4 children, and coaching for over 40 years. I spoke with him about how he was able to overcome such a great tragedy at such a young age and become a loving husband and father to his 4 children. This is Gerald's story. All right, so why don't we start out from the beginning? Where and when were you born, and what was your family dynamic like at that time?
Okay, I was born in Camelot, March 31st, 1943, and I had an older brother and my mother and my father,
And how old was your brother when you were born?
2.
And so
Yeah,
what was your family dynamic like when you were a young child?
it was great. I mean, my father used to take us in the car to go pick up my mother. She used to work in a shoe repair shop down in Youngstown, Ohio. And then he'd always stop at a candy store and get candy for us. And he did a lot, he was there, but he worked a lot.
What did he
And
do for a living?
he worked in the steel mill, the Briar Hill Steel Mill in Ohio.
And is that where a lot of people worked at that time?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
worked either the Camel Works, the Sheet and Tube, or the Briar Hill. It was all steel mills.
Yeah.
That was a big industry then.
So what memories do you have of your dad as a young child?
I have quite a few. It's hard to remember. He died exactly on March 31st when I was 6 years old. I do remember him doing things with us, like taking us for rides in a car and buying us candy. And he used to get on us all the time because we were boys. So he was after my brother and I all the time. And 2 days prior to him going to the hospital, because he had a hospital bed at the house, he called my brother and I into the room, and he said, told us, he didn't say what he was doing. He just says that he wanted us to be sure we took care of my mother and that everything was okay. He left off to the hospital, and that was March 29th. And on my birthday, March 31st, they had taken me to my godparents' house, Teresa and Andy Profanchik, and because they were going to have a birthday party for me, and they didn't want me there with my mother right then because my dad had passed away that day. And that's how we found out how he passed away. That
And
was
did you find out on your birthday?
right on my birthday.
And then
My mother came to the party that my godparents had for me. Yep. And it all started from there.
and so what was that like directly after the passing of your father?
Well, at 6 years old, you don't anticipate stuff like that. So you don't really know. You try to make the best of it if you could.
Mhm.
And it was tough. It was tough because my other younger brother was born. He was, I believe, maybe 2 years old. And my mother was pregnant with my sister. And, it was tough for her and for us. And we were fortunate enough to have all our family lived within a quarter mile of us, my father's 4 sisters. And so we spent a lot of time down there. They helped my mother a lot. My mother, she went to California with some friends or so, and we stayed with my aunts and that. And the years just went on. we knew right away we had to survive.
And how was your mother able to survive financially after that since
Very, very difficult because
that's 4
you know,
kids?
she worked, you know, she was mostly a waitress
Mhm.
at the places. And then we got a check couldn't even buy milk from the Social Security or the government. So anyhow, from that time on, you know, after a couple of years went by, there was not much for my brother and I to do other than work.
So when you were
So
younger and your mom obviously had to go out and was working a lot to support you guys, what were you guys doing?
working. No,
Working?
yeah, I
What
mean,
year
mostly,
how old were you when you started working?
well, the first time I ever had a job was cutting grass at 8 years old.
And who would you cut grass for? Like just neighbors?
Anybody who wanted to cut, we had a push mower, and I even got a picture of that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then what did you
and then we just did it, and then in the summertime, well, mostly during the winter, you know, you go to school. And then as soon as we came home from school, we had numerous things that we would do, and my brother and I, my older brother, we had paper routes, cleaning restaurants. I worked in a pizza shop. I worked in numerous things
Mhm.
and didn't have much time for sports except in the summertime when we didn't have to go to school. We were fortunate they had playgrounds. Each school within our town of Campbell, Ohio, they had four, what you call elementary schools up to eighth grade. And in those schools, with those schools, they had parks.
Mhm.
So you would join and go to the park. That's where we'd spend most of our day when we weren't working. And then every penny we made, we gave to my mother. Of course, you know, at that time, you know, milk was for $1, you get milk, bread, and, and everything else.
Changed a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what men had a significant impact on your upbringing since your father was gone?
I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. He lived down the street from us. Um,
And was that your mom's dad or your dad's dad?
no, my dad's dad.
Okay.
And my mother had two friends. One lived across the street from us, and one lived on the one side of us. And you know, we had so many chores that we had to do at the house to clean and take care of stuff, but they always looked after us. My aunts, they made sure that we walked the chalk line.
Mhm.
And of course, at that time in our lives, every Sunday, you know, I mean, for sure, you were at your grandparents' house and you went to visit all your aunts. So they all knew what we were doing, what was going on. I mean, by the time I was 9 years old, I had my own paper route, and you know that used to do pretty good for us. We used to make at least money to to support the house.
Mhm.
And by 10 years old, I mean I was just working all the time, doing stuff all the time. And by the time I came 13 years old, I was working. I'd go to school as soon as I come home from school. I'd have to work 4 days in the pizza shop cleaning up the place coming from school, and go home, do my homework, get up and go to school. And and then when at 13, I on Saturdays I used to I would work at a gas station. One of my mother's friends, he owned the gas station. So I'd go there on Saturday, and all he wanted me to do was wash cars, keep his customers happy. I used to have to take, I was 13 years old. I used to have to take two buses to get to the place.
Oh, wow. How
And
long did that take?
oh, I used to leave about 6 o'clock in the morning and get there about 8:30. And then I'd stay there all day and wash cars. So that was a big help at the house. And then we had other jobs. My brother already, he was like driving. So we had these mass paper routes where you drop papers off pick them up at the Vindicator and take all these bundles of papers to places for people to deliver them to households. And we'd do that. I'd go with him in that car, and we'd leave at 10 o'clock on Saturday night and finish up about 1 o'clock, 1:30, come home, deliver our paper route, get dressed to go to church, come back. And then we had 3 or 4 or 5 cars, whatever it was, that we used to polish, wash and polish. And so it was like, I didn't really have time to think about, who's going to help me or who's not going to help me. I just did it. We just did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you did little things like, I used to go to the scrapyard and pick up all the parts from old bikes and then put them back in my shed by my house and then put them together, and used to sell the bikes for $5 or $6 to somebody who needed one.
You would put together an entire bike?
Yeah. Yeah. From old, like I'd pick up old
Yeah.
people threw away. Yeah.
Oh,
I used to,
wow.
yeah. And at that time, I mean, it was just anything to make $1 so that we could survive.
So what did you do for fun?
I actually played baseball. I played Little League, and then I went into Class B. No, I'm sorry, Pony League.
So how old were you when you started? So how old is T-ball?
I was in the playgrounds. We had those playgrounds. I played ball
Mm-hmm.
when I was like 9 and 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had a big league that they called the Campbell Little League. And then I played over there for 2 years, for 11 and 12. And then 13 and 14, I played in a pony league. And my mother was every game that we played, my brother and I, every game. And then, of course, my younger brother was getting a little bit older. So, he was eating work with us or anything, but we had to watch him, had to watch Diane, my sister, all the time, because my mother had to work. So, and my mother always was on our back. She would always say, don't tell me you can't do it. So if there was something to be done, you did it, right, wrong, or indifferent. You just do it. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. You learn from it. So, our life was good. We used to go to Geneva, Ohio, where my grandfather's sister lived with her sons, and I would stay there sometimes 3, 4, 5 weeks out of the summer.
Oh, what would you do there?
We'd go down to the beach, down to Lake Erie, would walk or hitchhike down to there, and the cousins there had a bar, so I'd have to clean the bar every day before I went anywhere. And that's why by the time I was 50 years old, I was ready to retire, because I've been working since I was 8 years old.
8. Yeah. And so do you think that your family living in such close proximity to your mom was significant in you guys being able to survive in those
Oh, yeah.
early
There's no
years?
doubt. I mean, you could have all the friends in the world, which okay, but you really need the family to. They stuck by us, and it was good. They helped a lot, very much, and I do know that we had the help from the church, because I went to parochial school for 8 years, and then I went to public high school, and I don't know, it just seemed like the time just flew by, and I'm trying to think about 1957, about 1956, I think this guy was, really like my mother, and he used to be at the restaurant she worked at night, every night. He used to be there every night. And next thing you know, we come to find out they're going to get married. So at that time, I was probably 14. My brother was 16.
What type of relationship did you have with him when he married your
Well,
mom?
we that was not a problem. He was very helpful. He was hard for him to come into our house when we were doing everything, my brother and I. But he came in and he was good. He never said no, and he helped whatever we needed. And then when I graduated from high school, I left, tried to move to California, and
Let's talk a little
drove
bit about your high school years. So, when did you meet your wife, Helen?
out 10th grade in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, she was going to East High School, which is one of the suburbs of there, and it just I just met her. And the following year, we went to the prom, and we just hooked up and was doing everything together all the time. I actually went to California to
So,
get a
after
job.
high school, did you go to California with her, or did you go to
No,
California?
no. When
Okay.
we graduated from high school, I was 17 years old, and I left. I drove out to California, and I stayed. Actually, her sister and brother-in-law lived out there, and I was looking for get a job, and it didn't pan out because I was too young. I couldn't get a job because I was only 17. And then I came back, and we just talked about it, and I came back to her, and there we were. Next thing you know, I mean,
What? How old are you when you guys got married?
I was 20.
Okay. So you
She
go to
was
California and then you come back here. And then you said you were 20, she was
21.
21. And then what did you do for work since the
Well,
California didn't work out?
I tried various things. I was, well, my stepdad, they had this money put away for me in college, and I wanted to work on cars, open a gas station. So I went to school for it, and I was going to open up a gas station in one of the towns, small towns there. So when I went to go at the gas station at the Sunoco company, I couldn't do that job because I couldn't take the baloney from those guys. I'd be probably put in jail, and I was too young. I thought I was too young.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a job. I worked for an aluminum factory where they used to do the windows.
Yeah.
They made frames and screen doors and all that. I worked for there. And I was going to electronics school, refrigeration school, and I applied for this job down in Washington, D.C. in 1961. Yeah. And then I took the test and scored very high on it. So after about a year or so, I was selected for it. So I was dating, Helen all the time, my wife. And I decided that, they said I could have the job. I'd have to start there in July 1963. So we talked about getting married. I was going to join the military as one of the weekend warriors, that type of National Guard or something. So I took the job and went down there in July 1. And then October, I came back. We got married, and we ended up down there. And I got a waiver on the military because I was on the job training in a government job that was needed.
Okay.
And then
So what did you do for the government?
I worked in the government printing office. They print all the documents, the congressional record, all the printing stuff. And I actually went there to become a machinist, but they said I passed the test to do academic, like they put me in the composing area. So I was doing typesetting, proofreading, and I
So this is a lot different than you wanting to work with cars. Did you like it?
no, I learned to like it though.
Learn to like it?
I learned to like it. There's a lot of things I didn't like that I learned to like. But I would have preferred be doing that. It was too good of a job, and I learned, how to work hard to advance myself. The 5-year apprenticeship I took.
Mhm.
So we got married in '63, and we moved down there in '63. I had a real nice apartment for us.
When did you have your first kid?
January 1965.
Okay, so 63, by 65 you had a child, your first child. And so what was that like for you, knowing that you were going to be a father? What did that feel like?
That was great because it was nice to know that you're going to have somebody that you have partake in having a child. And my grandfather, I was very close to him. He had to come down to see us when we lived in Washington, and he had to know where I lived. He wanted to be sure he knew where I lived. And he came down and emphasized very clearly that I had to work and make money for my family. It all worked out, to the best. 4 kids later,
So what
it
was it like after you had your first child?
was a change of life. You can't just walk out the door. But one thing we always did, because we had the 2 girls within a year, the same year. One thing we did do is we never went anywhere without them. Very seldom that, we would get sometimes somebody to watch, we might go to a dance or something. But no matter where we went, we took our kids with us, no matter what we did. They always came with us. If we had cookouts, if you went down to the ocean, they came. Crib and canopy and all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, you guys would drive to California with them, right?
Oh yeah,
What was that like?
wonderful. Best thing we ever did.
Even the drive?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
8,200 miles.
How long is that?
I was off for work 31 days.
Oh my.
I took off.
How are you able to take off 31 days?
Well, I saved my leave.
Oh, so you'd save
I
your leave
did
and then you
that.
guys would do a
Yeah,
big trip to California.
I did that 4 times in our married life.
Wow.
I took off a month. Yeah, and then we had a station wagon, and the girls and the oldest son, which is Jerry, he was, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years old or something. He had a ball because we had that big station wagon, and we just drove. And the kid, they liked it. The kids, they like seeing the different parts of the country.
Now, what was one of your favorite memories of the kids when they're little, of you guys as a family?
There's many favorites. I don't have a special favorite. My work, they kept saying they wanted to promote me, give me this, give me that, and change my hours from 9 to 6:30 and so on and so forth. I told them I'm staying right with my job because I like getting home at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Helen would have dinner ready. We'd go up to the pool, spend time at the pool, pull them into wagons. So I wanted to spend time with the kids. So I never did.
Turned down getting promotions
Yes.
that were handed to you because you chose to want to spend more time with your family instead.
I didn't like the hours
Yeah.
because the people, probably not good to say, but there are people that work in the government and the hierarchies are nuts. Their dinners are 10 o'clock at night. They have the one place wanted me to, you might have to stay. She might, like the Bureau of the Mint, they might want you to come to a meeting at 7 o'clock at night. You got to be nuts, not me.
So when did you decide that you wanted to start coaching? Because you've been really
I mean,
big into coaching with your kids.
I coached years. I coached even the girls when they were small.
What did you coach for the girls? T-ball? So it was always
Yeah,
baseball.
yeah, it's always baseball. And then the boys, when they came up, I was coaching CYO, youth ball.
Your favorite
No,
part about coaching?
I always got along with the kids, my kids coaching. Whenever I said, had to be done, they did. A lot of parents would always come to me to tell their kids something because they couldn't talk to them.
Mhm.
And I never had that problem with mine.
Why do you think the kids were so responsive to you?
My kids or anybody.
Both.
Well, number one is when I said something, I meant it. It wasn't, yeah, it's okay. And it's not okay. This is the rules. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you got to do. And I wanted to see them grow. I don't want them to be relying on their parents all the time. I want just an incident. This is CYO. So this would be 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I don't know which one it was, but this happened several times. We didn't have all this communication. We had to do it by phone. So when I had something to do with the team, I would call the kid. Parent would answer the phone. I want to speak to George. He can't come up. He's upstairs. Okay, well, you tell him to call me when he's able to. Well, you could tell me, no, I don't want to tell you. I want to tell your kid. And that's the way it is. So if you don't like what I'm doing, then you put your kid somewhere else.
Mhm.
But I always responded to the kids. I never relied on the parents. I always talked directly to the kid. And I just wanted to see the kid grow and be responsible for their actions
What
to
were, you
keep,
think, the most important values that you wanted to instill in your children?
first of all, so they could learn that they could be self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, that they're responsible for their actions. And they have to be polite to people. I taught them that when you walk in the house, somebody's house, who I don't care who it is, your aunt or friends or anybody, you always walk up to and say hi. And when you leave their house, you tell them you're leaving. And my wife and I thought that was very important that they did that, to have respect. And it grew on them. And I like to see that, parents to do that today. So my last few years of coaching, I had a tough time coaching because parents were terrible.
And how so?
Well, they wanted a rule. They want, it's okay for them the kids to do this or do that. Example, we're leaving. We're getting ready to go to Florida for baseball. We're all in the parking lot, getting in the cars, heading to the airport. And one kid pulls up there and said, "Hey, you can't come." He says, "Why?" I said, "Because your grades, you're like 1.3. You
Oh.
can't come. You got to have 2.0 to play and to come." So it was fine. He didn't go. Well, his parents decided to send him for 2 weeks to Cancun.
Oh, right.
So you see what I mean? It's,
Yeah, he's not learning much. So how long did you coach for?
oh my gosh, 40 years.
Yeah.
I coached at DeMatha High School on the part of the coaching staff for 28. I did American Legion for 13 years, probably 40 years, before I went to DeMatha. Yeah, because I was coaching in the 70s. It's a long time.
What were some of your most memorable moments from coaching?
It's to see the kid succeed, to see a kid come on the team who couldn't throw the ball to first base. And by the time the season was over, he's throwing rockets there. That's the whole thing of coaching is that you're teaching them something. And when you see a kid make a spectacular catch, when you taught him how to dive for a ball so he don't get hurt and he makes the catch. So that's what it all boiled down to.
So I want to go back just for a minute, and we were talking about some of the values that you wanted to instill in your children, and it's respect and being very self-sufficient. Where do you think who gave you those values? Where did you learn those from?
My mother.
And what values do you think you learned from your grandfather too? That you said he was pretty
Well,
significant.
he taught me the bad things, how to fight. No,
Okay.
he was always. I used to go to before I went out and for the evening. I used to go down to his house and see him, spend a half hour, 45 minutes with him, no matter where I was going, and play some games of school, make wine, and he always used to tell me about be good, do watch what you do. His big saying was watch your shoes.
What does that mean?
Watch your shoes. Watch where you put your shoes when you step, so you don't get in trouble.
Okay.
So
Like
I try to instill in the kids not that, but before you start talking, think before you put your gears in action.
And then tell me about your mom. Which values did she instill in you?
Oh, she made us walk a chalk line. I mean, she taught us that she was there, respectful to everything we did. And that's what taught me that I try to be with all my kids, to be all their sports, whether it's gymnastics, dancing, playing softball, baseball, football, and that's what my mother always did. And
I wonder how she was able to do that with so much stress on her to provide for you guys,
don't
but was
ask
still
me.
able.
I
Do you
tell you,
yeah.
my sister, and we talk about that all the time. When she drive you nuts, but she was able to put food on the table. She was, things were different. You learned yourself how to do things. How to repair things, how to cook, how to you just learn how to do stuff. But every Sunday, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We had to go to church.
And that was always.
Always. You
Always.
dress up, you go to church,
And
and you come home.
what do you think going to church every Sunday, what do you think that taught you?
I think that everybody should have some church in them, because I think going on Sunday, what's written in the gospel, there's always something in there that gives you values for life,
Mhm.
no matter what day you go or when you go. Now, the big thing is working in a steel mill town. That's Sunday. You would go because you put clean clothes on, you showered, you dressed up, you had a family dinner, you made sure. And I thought that, that it's just a change of pace. So the things today is very irritating to me when, I see somebody coming to church half dressed in slobs. I think you should have some value and some respect for not only yourself, but for going into church and do that. I thought that till this day, I still believe in it, that, you know, you should go to church every Sunday and listen to the gospel, listen to what the priest has sometimes have to say. There's always some value in there to help everybody. That's
And
the way I feel.
and you guys still to this day, every week, right? You're there
Every Sunday,
every Sunday. Yeah. And now, do you think, because when I met Jerry, I love a lot of things about your son, but one of the things that I found very attractive was how close the family is and how close all of you guys are, and the relationship that you have, not only with just his core family, which siblings and you guys, but cousins and aunts and uncles. You guys are all so very well connected. Do you think that had to do with where you grew up and your family being in such close proximity, and because of going to church, and then you guys would have your Sunday dinners and you guys spent a lot of time together?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with it. The one thing I mentioned before, that every function we ever had, the kids were all there. Now he's close with a lot of his cousins because my brothers and my sister, I decided
Mhm.
that we would get together. I didn't care what they did, but we would get together 3 times a year. That would be Easter, Thanksgiving, and Christmas.
Mhm.
Somehow we would get together.
Mhm.
That would be the whole family. That would, now they're all cousins and now they have kids. And then as the years went on, things start changing because of all, there's no value. The sports, people, they're always doing sports, and it's like, it's crazy because there's so much of it. Saturdays, Sundays, during the week. How many people sit down at the table and have dinner together? It's a rarity. Not my house. We sat down at dinner every day. So then, there's a lot of values come out of sitting down and having dinner every day because you find out what they did, and that's why the girls especially had a close relationship with my wife because she would let them speak out and they would talk about things, and then of course you got to discipline them too. So, and when we disciplined them, we meant it. It wasn't, oh, that's okay.
Mhm.
That's okay if you did that. It's not okay. They need to know it's not okay. So let them think about it when they go to do it next time.
So you have a lot of grandsons that have yet to get married and have children. What would be marriage and parenting advice to them?
I don't know. I just tell them that I always said, just you need to make sure what you're doing. Make sure you think it out thoroughly because once you do it and it don't work out, there's a lot of failures, a lot of problems. So
What do you attribute your success of your marriage? How long have you guys been married now? I mean, 60 some years?
somewhere around there.
Something around there. I remember celebrating your 50th, but that seems like
Yeah,
it was a little while ago.
yeah,
So I'm like, I think we might be at 60 now.
yeah. 63, whatever that comes out to. I don't know. You're gonna fight. You have to think of all the sides of it. When you have the kids and the grandkids and they all respect us. You're gonna have bad times. Some go to extremes, they think they're not happy with what they're doing, but I don't know. It just goes on. We fight. There's no doubt about it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But you just the impact that it has on a lot of people if you don't stay married. If you do or you don't,
Mhm.
because we have an impact on a lot of the kids. They come, like yours. I want to see Papa. I want to see his car. Dominic, he's wearing Delaware,
Yeah.
Grandpa
Yeah.
Delaware.
Yep.
So it's a in like Vinny and Joe, Greg. They just all have respect and everything. And if they were off on their own and not bother everything, it's not good.
Yeah. I did I did read once that to measure how successful you are as a man is if your children as grown adults still want to hang out with you and they still like you and they still come around and your kids are always around. We're at your house once a month, so Cindy's there. I think Matt might be there too. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's always someone at your house.
there will be a bunch of them this week.
I know.
Matt
It's a
married a kid,
constant, just like open
Karen,
revolving
Karen,
door.
Cindy, Vinny. Vinny's working here. And,
I know. I
yeah.
know.
So,
So,
it's It's good. It's nice sometimes, at our age, it's nice to just be alone. But it's also nice to see everybody sit at the table, 16 of us, and whatever it comes out, and you're having Thanksgiving or, a birthday party or something.
Hmm.
It's always nice to have that stuff.
I like watching your late night card games with all the grandkids. And then you don't let them win. No.
No, one thing I taught them, when you play sports, you
Uh-huh.
can be the best of friends. When you walk across that line on that field,
Hmm.
you're not friends anymore. When you come back off the line, you're friends. Same thing, you play cards. Don't play cards to give up. Play cards to win, because that helps you in everything else you do, for your job or whatever else you want to do. When they become 18, I could tell you right now, you're going to be on your own. I have no jurisdiction over you when you're 18. You live in my house, I can make you kick you out. But by the time you become 18, you need to know right from wrong. You make your choices, then you pay the consequences if you make the wrong choice. So
I do
these
like
kids,
the one story of Jerry. He told me, he said he dropped a class. So I guess he went down like 3 credits or something. And then you saw his grades and you're like, okay, well, you owe me this amount of money. If you drop a class, you owe me credits. And he was like, huh? You're like, oh no, this isn't free.
asked him when he wanted to go, when he lived on his own. So he made out a chart, all the expenses and stuff like that. You'll find out once you
Yeah.
get out there and live on your own. I was coaching the Greenbelt Legion team, and we were in Tennessee, and you could be 18 years old and be playing. So before we went, I went to the parents and said, I just want you to know that they're under my control. The 18-year-old, that I don't have any control. If they don't want to listen, or if even the younger kids don't want to listen, guarantee I'll send them home. I'm not going to put up with none of their crap. And we were on the field, and one of the kids, which he happened to drive down because he was 18. I said, I don't care what you do. Just get in your car and get out of here. You're not on this team anymore. And he jumped in his car, man, and screaming and yelling. And as he went by the ball field, never saw him again.
Well, why did you tell him to go?
Well, you got to have some respect.
Mm-hmm.
So when we took him out of the game, and the coach went up to take him out of the game, he took and threw his glove at him, at the coach. He come off there. I said, you can't do that, man. So when the coach came off the field, you either go do it or I'm going to do it. You go tell him right now. We can't take that crap from nobody. We have too much responsibility here. So he was gone. And then there was one other incident. We were down in Tennessee, and we were in a county that you weren't allowed fireworks. And right across the street was the county you could have fireworks. So they bought fireworks. I told them you can't shoot them off. So they went out in the field and shot them off anyhow. And the cops came. And they came, and I said to him, I says, hey, look, they didn't know they couldn't shoot fireworks. Give them stick up a little bit for them. I said, you need to do me a favor. Make them sweat. Tell them what the fine is for shooting fireworks in a county that's not allowed fireworks. Make all of them sweat. You should have seen that. And then they come up to me in the next meeting. Well, I guess you meant what you said, huh? So sometimes little things, that's all. Well,
So before I let you go, what would your advice be to a young man who has also lost their father?
when I really started coaching, there was maybe one parent that was divorced, or the mother was just taken. As the years went on, There was a lot more, like 8 or 9 sometimes, kids that their parents were divorced and stuff. It's hard to give advice to what they would do. I would just have to tell them that when you have a coach, I'm a coach. I'm not in. I want to win, but it don't mean nothing to me. 10 years from now, it's going to mean something to you. So you have to. I'm looking out for your best interest. And when they don't have a father or parent, then that's what I have to tell the kid. Because my biggest problem was the last 3 or 4 or 5 years when you would have to look at the kid. Maybe it's not the kid's fault because why are they late? 5 minutes early, he's late. That means he's got to run polls. You have to look at it and say, is it the dad's fault, the mother's fault, the stepfather's, stepmother's? Is the kid sick? And then I told the school the thing. As soon as he does all his running and everything, then we'll find out. No, you got to look at it before. I don't do that. I said, I can't coach that way. I can't have a good team because it's important that you be there for all the practices because you're part of the team. It's not you, it's the team. You can't win the ball game. The team has to. So you need to be on time. So when we start everything, the calisthenics, you got to be involved in it. You can't come 20 minutes late and say, because I didn't want to do the workouts. That can't happen. But I felt sorry for the guys. I don't know, you might see it now. I mean, it's seeing parents with their kids not owning up to what they do. The mother or the father don't agree and they just pat them on the back and say, this is okay. It can't be that way. You have to be responsible for your actions. When you have a response, then you got to have somebody at the house, even in the school system, somebody at the home has to instill stuff in. So the incident, my wife, she for 34 years, she was a substitute, an extra at the school teaching. So she would go there 2 or 3 days a week. So one little kid come in there and he says, he said, okay, you got to do this. He was in kindergarten. He says, you got to do this. He said, I don't have to do anything I don't want. My mother says, I don't have to. If I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it. But you have to do it in this class. No, I don't. That's a big argument. And now the parents got involved. So growing up in the way I lived all the years, it's hard to bite that bullet.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
This one guy told me I forgot where I had the team, and I always got up early I always had breakfast for the team. So I went and had a cup of coffee, and the guy that was serving and everything, we were sitting there talking. He said he wished he could send his kid to Catholic school. And he says he can't do it. And he says his boy said to him one day, did he say he was 5 years old? He says, if you touch me again, I'm going to call the police.
Oh,
Could
my.
you imagine? And you know what I would have said? Get on the phone, bam, smack him in the jaw. That's Jerry, I think. Smack him in the jaw, call the police. Anyhow.
Wow. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about before we wrap up?
No, not really. You could almost go on forever with all this. Because it's what Jerry had told me, because when I left to go to California and all the things I have done, he told me I should have been taking notes and I should write a book.
Yeah.
You know
have
what?
Great stories.
Yeah. And I don't even remember him. Something strikes it like I'm sitting there talking. Oh, then you did that? Yeah. I just hope it all comes out good. Whatever you're doing is helpful to somebody. I just hope that the kid, whoever sees this or looks at it, the parents look at it and say, make sure you have your kids show respect for you and for everybody else. Because your job is not being a friend. Your job is to be a parent. Somebody else be your friend. So I hope that instills in other people, and I don't think it'll ever change, to the better, but I hope so.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
You did great. If you enjoyed this episode in our Vanishing Fathers series, please make sure to rate and review this podcast. The reviews really do count. If you'd like to hear more about the statistics and further understand the impact on fathers in society, please purchase our book, Vanishing Fathers, A Ripple Effect on Tomorrow's Generation. All proceeds from the book will directly go to charities that are helping at-risk youth. And if you'd like to follow us online, go to our website, trumancharities.com, Facebook @TrumanCharities, Instagram, Jamie_Truman Charities, and you can follow me on LinkedIn @Jamie Truman. Thank you so much for listening to our Vanishing Fathers series, and please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any further episodes.